Shalom, shalom, shalom. Once again, I'd like to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles, bishops, and elders of Great Millstone. Salutations to the hopeful elect. Beginning with the 144,000. Lord willing, this lesson be quick, edifying, and I didn't think on the title, so I'm gonna just jump straight into it. This is from Reuters. It says Trump orders crackdown on homeless encampments nationwide. And this was put up yesterday, July 4th at 8:27 p.m. And it says Washington, July 24th, President Donald Trump on Thursday, which was yesterday, signed an executive order urging cities and states to clear homeless encampments and move people into treatment centers, a move that advocates for the homeless said would worsen the problem. The order directs Attorney General Pam Bondi to overturn state and federal legal precedents and consent decrees that limit local efforts to remove homeless camps. It remains unclear how Bondi could unilaterally overturn such decisions. The order follows a Supreme Court decision in 2024 that allows cities to ban homeless camping. The National Coalition for the Homeless condemned the order, saying it would undermine legal it says it would undermine legal protections for homeless and mentally ill individuals. The group said the Trump administration has a concerning record for disregarding civil rights and due process and warned that it would worsen the homelessness crisis. It says Trump said people living in homeless encampments should be directed to facilities for treatment of mental health problems and addiction. He did not mention any plans to expand treatment centers or provide long-term housing. About 771,480 people were homeless in the U.S. on a single night in 2024, and 18 what the fuck hold up. It says an 18% increase from the prior year, according to the U.S. Interagency Council on Homelessness. Of those, about 36% were unsheltered, meaning they were living on the streets in vehicles or encampments, according to the Department of Housing and Urban Development's point in time count. The National Homelessness Law Center said the order, combined with budget cuts for housing and health care, will increase homelessness. Forced treatment, quote, it says, forced treatment is unethical, ineffective, and illegal. These actions will push more people into homelessness and divert resources away from those in need. Other groups said the order risks criminalizing homelessness by pushing people off the streets without guaranteed housing, worsening the crisis. You can I might as well read the rest. This last bit. It says many experts see the origin of the U.S. homelessness crisis in the closure of psychiatric hospitals in the 1960s and 70s in favor of community care. Advocates say this shift was never fully funded or effectively implemented, leaving many people with serious mental illness without care or housing. Other contributing causes are a severe shortage of affordable housing, rising poverty, and cuts to public housing assistance programs, experts say. So, with all that said, that's just another way Trump is cracking down on you Jakes, who so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians, who make up the highest, the majority of the homelessness community. So, and this is another step towards this is another way that that these devils are using to make the implementation of their microchip, which is the fulfillment of the MOTB, the mark of this beast-like system, more difficult to rebel against or reject. All right. And I say that because the place where my family called, different Jakes grow up in different neighborhoods, and they claim it as being their hood, short for neighborhood, because that neighborly spirit has been long gone out of our communities for quite some time. So through the spirit, right? We claim the places where we grew up as our hood. So my hood, so to speak, right? Which I don't claim that anymore. Looking to be a new creature in Yahweh, right? But the place where, and I didn't necessarily grow up there, but my family had different apartments. At one point in time, it was like five of my grandmother, and three of my aunts, and if I'm not mistaken, my one of my cousins, my aunt's, my grandmother's sister, was staying in these specific projects I'm speaking about at one time. And so, a lot of, my grandfather was living in there with one of my aunts for a while, and so it was at least three or four generations that lived and came out of those projects. So I watched it change from it being, a rough ghetto, a dirty, filthy, like basically ghetto heaven, right? Where a place where wickedness thrived at, and there was shootings and people being killed in there all the time. It's still considered a hood. Niggas still do wickedness out of there, but at one point in time they had cameras, but they only had cameras in the lobbies. It's two 20-story buildings with apartments on each floor, going from A to I think N, from A to N. So the only place where there was cameras was in the lobbies when you first go into each building, and like around the buildings, and eventually they put them inside of the elevators. But they would get broken a lot. They would barely work. You know, they had security guards in there, and eventually they wound up putting a gate up. But I watched it transition from not having gates to having, you know, security, but like low security, to it being gentrified for the most part, right? I was subleasing illegally an apartment in there when they did renovations. When they did renovations, and when they did the renovations, they put cameras in each floor. On every floor, they fit clean. They was under new management, under new ownership, new management, whatever you call it. And they put cameras on each floor. And before that, you know, we had what, you know, different neighborhoods called honeycombs, or in different certain down south they call them like bandos, right? Basically, somebody would move out, and they would the management, they would padlock, they would chain up the doors, you know, until they got someone else to move in them. Sometimes no one would move in them. They wouldn't have anyone else to move in these apartments for anywhere from some months to some years. And what we would do is break the chains, or if they probably wouldn't even put a chain up. They probably just have it locked. You know, we'd kick the door down, change the locks, and you know, it would be like, you know, we what you would call it, squatters. You know, we would basically be squatters. You know, and certain niggas will, you know, put a bed, put a couch, put a TV up, you know, and basically live rent free, and you know, go through great efforts to, you know, to keep management from finding out. And a lot of people live like that, and which did what? Prevented certain people from being homeless, you know, because without these places, and also, you know, our people is known for helping out a cousin, helping out a brother, helping out a friend, you know, that's going through a rough time with, you know, they could sleep on the couch, they could sleep on the floor, right? Shacking up, right? But when this place came under new management, it made it more, you know, the new policies and rules, you know, with them being able to keep track of who goes in and out of apartments, knowing who's on a lease and all those type of things, it made it more difficult for you to shack up. You definitely wasn't living rent free in any of those abandoned apartments anymore. So when this happened, I think this was right before they start pushing the jab on people, and I automatically noticed it as, you know, the whole gentrification thing as means of separating, you know, who actually are functional members of society versus who's not, and who's just getting over, who's taking advantage of the system, you know, through the loopholes, right? Because without being able to shack up, without being able to take advantage of these abandoned apartments or houses or whatever, the homelessness percentage would be much greater. And so this is 2nd Ezra chapter 16, verse 37. It says, behold, the plagues, which is widespread affliction, right? Part of the plagues is going to be pestilences, you know, diseases, right? Famine of bread and water, all right, which the Palestinians, so-called Palestinians or Gazans, you know, they going through it. Every time I go through the news, they speaking about it, how those Arabics over there is starving. They going through a severe hunger crisis. All right, and that's coming to America, which is known as Babylon the Great. All right, any day now. So it says, behold, the plagues draw nigh. Right, the ultimate plague is those thermonuclear missiles. All right, that's going to wipe 100% of America off of the face of the earth. Behold, the plagues draw nigh and are not slack. So you got diseases, you got a famine, shortage of food and water. All right, you're gonna have people dropping like flies. All right, violence is going to increase. Shooting, stabbings, self-harm, heart attacks, strokes. All right, people gonna be stressed out. Grapes, robberies. All right, wild animals attacking you. All right, because this America's economy, this society is falling. America is circling the drain. All right, and these elites are deliberately trying to fuck up, break this old system down so that they can establish their new world order and implement their microchip, right? Which is the fulfillment of the mark of the beast. But anyways, it says, behold, the plagues draw nigh and are not slack, as when a woman with child in the 9th month bringeth forth her son. With 2 or 3 hours of her birth, great pains compass her womb. Right, when a woman is in labor, she's in her last trimester, and she's in her last hours about to give birth. Those contractions increase. All right, and that's how the problems, the plagues, the bad things that are about to befall America are going to be. We've seen different waves, of these plagues, of these contractions coming and increasing, but they're going to continue to increase, and these are signs of the end. These are signs of Yahushua making his second return, establishing the kingdom of heaven, which will be the beginning of the kingdom of heaven being established on earth. The beginning of, right, because the scripture says for Esau is the end of the world and Jacob is the beginning of the world that followeth. So as we draw closer to the end of the so-called white man's rulership of the earth, we're also drawing close to the beginning of Yahushua and the Israelites ruling the earth again forever this time. All right. So it says, with 2 or 3 hours of her birth, great pains compass her womb, which pains, when the child cometh forth, they slack not a moment. So at the point of Yahushua actually making his second return, right, cracking the clouds with the innumerable amount of the chariots of God, which the world enemy calls UFOs or UAPs. The nuclear bombs are going to be going off, right? It's going to be great suffering. There will be, what the scriptures say, there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. A lot of people are going to be deleted. A lot of people are going to be burnt up. A lot of people are going to be suffering. All right, the whole world, as you know it, is going to change forever. Right, and the day of the Lord is darkness and not light. It's going to be very dark and rough time. right? So worse than any other time, any other bad time on the face of the earth. All right. And the closer we get to the end of this thing, the more the sufferings, the more those plagues are gonna unfold. It says, verse 39, even so shall not the plagues be slack to come upon the earth. All right, so meaning they not going to let up. All right, they not going to let up. They not going to ease up. They're going to intensify. It says, and the world shall mourn, and sorrow shall come upon it on every side. Right, no matter where you look, if the Lord is not protecting you, even the elect are going to be going through hell. All right, are going to be going through a hard and difficult time. All right, but the elect are going to be happy because we understand what's going on. 2/3 of our people in these heathen nations, they're going to be bugged out of their mind because they don't have that spiritual and mental stability as far as understanding what's going on and knowing what the end result is going to be. There's nothing worse than a person not understanding while they're suffering. All right, not to not know. There's great fear in not knowing. All right, but you know, when you look to your left, to your right, no matter what you do, it's going to be, you know, America is going to be turned worse than a third world country. The things that are about to happen is going to be worse than your worst nightmare or horror film. And sorrow shall come upon it on every side. O my people. Who's the Lord's people? The 12 tribes of Israel. All right, the only ones who will, it says, hear my word. The elect of the nation of Israel, the 1/3 beginning with 144,000 is the only ones that will hear the Lord's word, gain the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding of the scriptures. It says, make you ready to thy battle, because the scripture speaks about how we must endure to the end. All right, there's been a fight, there's been a battle, there's been a war going on for our faith. All right, and it's going to intensify. It's going to intensify. Make you ready to thy battle. Right, we're going to have to fight more than we ever had for, you know, for what it is that we believe in. All right, things are as bad as things may be now. We haven't seen nothing yet. All right, it says, and in those evils be even as pilgrims upon the earth. All right, and so the definition for pilgrim, a person who journeys, especially a long distance, to some sacred place as an act of religious devotion. All right, so in the face of rejecting, of rebelling against receiving, rebelling against conforming and bowing down to the image of the beast, which is the New World Order system, and rebelling against receiving that microchip, which is the mark of the beast. We don't know where we don't know where the Lord is going to lead us. We don't know where the Spirit is going to lead us in great attempts of staying, of not being boxed in, not being thrown in a concentration camp, not being anywhere where we will be tempted more than we have to be to receive that microchip. All right, so but if you don't conform to the image of the beast, if you don't take the microchip, then you will not be able to be a productive member of society. You will be an outcast. You will be forced to live off of the grid. You will be forced to live off of faith. All right, you will be forced to live without being able to buy or sell. You won't be able to work a job. You won't be able to pay your rent. All right. If you do, it's gonna be a miracle. All right. If there's some type of bartering system, we will be able to survive off. All right. If there's some type of way, if there's going to be some type of loophole, some type of way to be able to make transactions without actually taking a micro receipt hit, that would be a miracle. That would be a way that the Lord provided as means for the elect to survive without taking that microchip. But 9 times out of 10, brothers and sisters don't know what we gonna be. We don't know how we gonna survive. We just know that through the spirit and power of Yahweh Ba'ashem Al-Shai, we will he will make a way for us to survive without taking that mark. So it says a person who journeys, we will have to be prepared to journey to places we don't know, right? For spiritual reasons, because we believe that by no means necessary, or by any means necessary, we are not to receive that microchip. It says a traveler or wanderer, especially in a foreign place, and we are in a foreign place. America, we don't belong here. This is not our home. America, which is known as Babylon the Great, is not our home. Our home is Israel. That's our land. All right, and we're gonna get it back once Yahweh Shah makes his second return and delivers us, saves the elect, and destroys the people that are in the land out of the land. We will be brought back. We will be brought back home, and when we go back, we're gonna have slaves. We're gonna have slaves out of all these heathen nations, and they're gonna clean up wherever the destruction took place at, except for America. This place is gonna be turned into a desert. But so it says, even so shall not the plagues be slack to come. No, verse 40. It says, "Oh my people, hear my word. Make you ready to the battle." So this is a part of the battle. We're gonna have to be prepared to be homeless. All right, certain brothers, are borderline homeless, if not actually homeless. All right, don't live in a place where they're on a lease. They probably shacking up with somebody else, but if they get kicked out, certain brothers and sisters, that's the next thing, if they not already there, sleeping out of cars. It says, and in those evils be even as pilgrims upon the earth. Be ready to deal with that type of lifestyle. All right, in the face of in the time of Jacob's trouble, in the hour of temptation. Verse 41, he that selleth, let him be as he that fleeth away. Right? While we, the scriptures say, use the world but not abuse the world. Brothers may have businesses, brothers may have jobs. All right. So as of right now, we can make business transactions. We don't need the microchip to be a part of the society, so we still can make a way. But we have to be prepared to let this shit go. Let whatever business or whatever jobs that we have go. All right. It says, because we know that what's coming. It says, and he that buyeth as one that will lose. So whatever things we have gained, all right, through our businesses or jobs, we have to be ready to take a loss. Verse 43, he that soweth as if he should not reap, so also he that planteth the vineyard as he that shall not gather the grapes. They that marry as they that shall get no children, and they that marry not, as the widowers. All right, so we want to be minimalist. All right, again, use the world but not abuse the world. Do the bare minimum. All right, make ends meet, to get to the next day, and ultimately to keep the faith. To keep yourself to keep your spiritual sanity. All right, you just don't want to do too much. You don't need a bunch of women. All right, you don't need a bunch of money. All right, you want to make just enough, right? Give us this day our daily bread. We want to have just enough to survive for now, because the more you have, the more temptation it's going to be, the more difficult it's going to be for you to let go when it's time. Verse 45, and therefore they that labor in vain. All right, so the harder you work, the more money you accumulate. If one day you're gonna have to let it go, or not be able to use it, unless you might have, if you got $100,000 in a bank, all right, and then they implement that microchip, then the only way you're gonna be able to keep that $100,000, and they might say they'll give you an extra $20,000 if from if you receive that microchip. All right, it's you either let go of that $100,000 for the sake of Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shah, or you give it to the temptation of making that $120,000, which will be transferred to your microchip account. But anyways, the point is that if with the homeless being targeted, right? That's another way for it's like that's a way for when these devils do make that microchip mandatory. That's a way to make it more difficult to live, to survive, if it's damn near illegal for you to be homeless. All right. This is Revelation chapter 12, verse 12. It says, therefore rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil is come down unto you having great wrath, because he knoweth that he have but a short time. The closer we get to the end of this thing, the more this devil, all right, the nation of so-called white men, which the face of these devils right now, because the main headquarters of the nation of so-called white man is America, all right, and the face of these devils right now is DJ Trump, aka Nero. All right, he's that cruel Lord spoken of in the scriptures, and the way he's moving, he's targeting you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians with these mass deportations. All right, and he spoke about the prophets of doom. All right, and so look into they want, he spoke about entry exit visa tracking system. All right, the elder apostle Tahar, he just posted something with these devils clapping it up. I think another law was signed, moving, that would move towards the microchip being implemented. All right, so uh, that prophecy will be fulfilled any day now. They had a plan 2030, all right, in which they want to have their digital ID system rolled out, all right, and majority of the people to take it by a certain point in time, all right. And so 5 years will go by like that in the blink of an eye. And the closer we get to them implementing that, the more this devil is going to set up the system around to make it more difficult to not receive it. All right. And so he trying to make the nation of Israel, so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians, the new face of terrorism. All right. And as means of keeping track of who's legally and who's illegally in America, he's now targeting the homeless. All right. This is all part of his him coming down with great wrath. All right, knowing that he had but a short time. This is Revelation 13 and 16. I'll start at 15. It says, "And he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak." All right, so the image of the beast is the New World Order system, but it's based upon the old image of Rome. America is Rome reincarnated, and you see it all within the infrastructure, all within the laws, all right, all within certain terminologies, all right, all within the American system. You can see America mimics the Roman Empire, all right, and the same nation that was the face of the Roman Empire, the nation of the Edomites, the nation of so-called white man, is the face of America, which is Babylon the Great. And these devils through America made it possible for Rome to be reincarnated. All right, Rome, Rome to live again. All right, through this American system, and he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, and that New World Order is them perfecting that Roman system, that image of Rome being reincarnated. It says that the image of the beast should both speak. All right, for something to speak, it has to be alive. All right, because ancient Rome had died, had fell. Right, the Western Roman Empire. All right, because the Eastern Roman Empire had lived on for some time, but Rome fell. Then you had the Dark Ages, the medieval times, right? The 1,000 years where Jake ruled, all right, Europe. And then you had the Renaissance, and Renaissance means rebirth, the rebirth of what you call classical antiquity, which was the time in which the world was heavily influenced by Greek and Roman culture. And so America is the product of the Renaissance. All right. So it says that the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. So they plan on deleting, right? That's a part of the devil coming down with great wrath, right? Whoever, those draconian laws, whoever is in opposition against them implementing their new world order. All right, um, they to be deleted. All right, but in order for them to be able to keep track of who's who, they're cracking down on the laws, and eventually, they're gonna implement that microchip, and whoever puts up a fight against it, is going to be made the face of terrorism. Revelation 13:16, and he, which is Esau, Edom nation, the so-called white man, beginning with the least the top banking families, all right, and he causeth all, so the whole earth is going to be tempted, tested. It's going to be damn near forced to accept the thought of, if you want to continue to be a part of society, no matter where you are in the four corners of the earth, you're going to have to take into consideration that you're going to have to give into receiving that microchip. And he calls of all, both small and great. It doesn't matter your status, rich and poor, free and bond. It doesn't matter if you're locked up or so-called free, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell save he that had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. Here is wisdom. Let him that have understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666, 666, which is on each and every last one of those microchips. All right. But the point is that's what I wanted to grab, because I asked ChatGPT, does gentrification make it harder to be homeless? All right, so gentrification is happening all over America. All right, and the purpose of that is to help make it easier to implement their microchip system, to separate those who are for the society and those who are against it. It says, yes, gentrification makes it significantly harder to be homeless in multiple, because again, if you don't receive that microchip, then you will be forced to possibly be homeless. All right, having no sure place to lay your head. All right, gentrification makes it significantly harder to be homeless in multiple direct and indirect ways. 1, loss of affordable housing. As neighborhoods gentrify, low-income housing is demolished, converted, or becomes unaffordable. Public and rent-controlled units may be replaced by high-end developments, luxury apartments, or short-term rentals, Airbnbs. Example: displacement of long-time residents pushes more people into homelessness, especially in urban cores. So now that they start gentrifying things, they increase the rate of those who are actually homeless, being able to identify who is leeching off of the system, basically, who's exploiting and moving through the cracks, moving through the loopholes. All right, those are the targets. Those are the people that they know that are more than likely to put up a fight against their new world order and their implementation of the microchip. Displacement of long-term residents pushes more people into homelessness, especially in urban cores, which is the ghetto, the hoods. Example: in cities like San Francisco, Washington, D.C., and New York, gentrification coincided with steep declines in affordable housing stock and rising homelessness among seniors, people of color, and working families. 2, anti-homeless infrastructure and laws. Gentrified neighborhoods often install hostile architecture. Example, bench dividers, spikes, sloped surfaces to deter people from sleeping in public. Local governments adopt cleanup ordinances. Examples, anti-camping, anti-panhandling, loitering bans to protect the new image of the neighborhood. All right. And eventually that's going to be a worldwide, a global thing. All right. There's going to be a new image for the earth. All right. And there's going to be a ban against anyone who doesn't meet up to that image or standard. Not to solve homelessness. It says to protect the new image of the neighborhood, not to solve homelessness. These efforts criminalize survival behaviors and make it harder for unhoused people to exist visibly. All right, so you may suffer from mental disorders. All right, and because of your mental disorder, you are finding it difficult to be a productive member of society, to keep a job, in order to pay rent, in order to feed yourself. And so the end result is you being homeless. All right, and as a tactic of surviving, you might get you a sleeping bag. You might get you a camping tent. All right, you might find you a place in a park or under a bridge, to get some rest. All right, you might find a place, a highway, that you could work as far as panhandling to help feed you. All right, but a part of their new world order system, they want all of that to be done away with. 3, it says increased policing and displacement. Gentrification is frequently accompanied by more policing, private security, and surveillance in public spaces. This results in more encampment sweeps. So if you are using and sleeping on the streets, panhandling or whatever, right, you can be arrested, you can be jailed, right, thrown into a concentration camp with a re-educational program, whatever you want to call it, where you will be more heavily tempted to receive that microceded. They will let you know, like, look, it's either going to stay here until further notice. All right, the conditions may be very difficult, and they let you know, like, you're not getting out of here. The only way you're gonna get out of here is in a body bag, or if you take this chip. So this results in more encampment sweeps, arrests, and fines, which can lead to loss of belongings, ID documents, medications, and connections to caseworkers. All right, and if you depend on these things, all right, you need medications. You depend on medications. You depend on your caseworkers. Because you want SSI or disability, whatever the case may be. You keep getting locked up because you don't have an ID or whatever the case may be, and they implement their microchip and tell you that to make it more convenient, all you gotta do is take this, and on top of that, we'll place you in some type of affordable housing or whatever the case may be, right? Because they also have part of that, their digital, their new system. They have something called the UBI, Universal Basic Income, in which everyone will possibly receive a certain minimum amount of income, so that there won't be anyone homeless. You won't have, basically they want you to have no excuse as to why not to take the microchip. They want to package it up, you know, nice and beautiful, all right, with all these benefits to make it difficult, and basically to make you feel like you don't have no choice. It's in your best interest to bow down. People experiencing homelessness are pushed from one neighborhood to the next, further isolating them from services for resource shrinkage or relocation. As areas gentrify, homeless services often get pushed out, shut down, or relocated far from where people need them. Right? For example, Social Security. Right? You have to. They shut down a lot of Social Security buildings, and you gotta travel. You gotta travel to get your, get your Social Security or your disability, or whatever the case may be. This is all part of them playing chess. Making it difficult for you to keep up with this system the way it is, which can possibly which puts pressure on you, which makes it more difficult for you to take care of yourself, to be a productive member of society, to prevent from being homeless. It says gentrifiers and developers may oppose new shelters, mental health centers, or food distribution sites in revitalized zones. This reduces access to critical support, shelter beds, restrooms, outreach, or harm reduction for the most vulnerable. 5. Wider rent inflation. Gentrification in one area raises prices regionally, affecting surrounding neighborhoods. People already on the edge of affordability, especially seniors, renters, or disabled residents, are at higher risk of becoming homeless due to eviction or inability to keep up with rent hikes. So, when they raise the prices, when certain areas raise the prices up, it causes surrounding neighborhoods to raise their prices up as well, which, and the more prices are raised up, the more difficult it is to pay rent for those who live off of low income. So, right, bottom line, gentrification doesn't just displace renters, it often creates conditions that push people into homelessness and make it harder to survive, recover, or find stable housing if you're already unhoused. So that was it on that. Lord willing, that was edifying. Once again, I'd like to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham Yahushai, Bahasham Rakakodash. Double honors to the apostles, the bishops, and elders of Great Millstone. Salutations to the hopeful elect, beginning with the 144,000. Shalom.